evening, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you all for tuning in. So tonight we're going to do another episode of Trimming the Filler. I selected an album that I found myself listening to a little earlier today. It's been a while since I've played this one, but Different Kind of Truth from Van Halen. The last album from the band prior to Eddie Van Halen's passing in 2020. This was released in 2012 with David Lee Roth on vocals, and of course Wolfgang Van Halen taking over the bass duties from Michael Anthony. So in my opinion, this album is good. It's a much better swan song than Van Halen 3 ever would have been, but it doesn't really have the magic of the first 6 albums with David Lee Roth. I don't think there's any way that you're going to get this album to have that magic, just because it's so far removed. 1984 was released in 1984. This is 2012, so that's 2.5 decades of time that has passed since their last album with Diamond Dave. So a lot of things have changed. These guys aren't, they're not young guys anymore, except for Wolfie. But I don't think you're going to capture that classic feel. But I do think this album has its fair share of filler, stuff that didn't really need to be here. And I kind of always wanted to trim this one down and try to make it feel a little bit more like the classics. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to cut off a couple of songs that I don't really feel like they need to be here, sort of try to shore this thing up. One of the things that I do miss that's not on Different Kind of Truth is an instrumental track. All of the David Lee Roth albums with Van Halen had them back in the day, and I kind of miss that. So I want to kick this thing off with an instrumental track. There's not one here, but I've allotted a minute 30 to have kind of a really cool intro guitar solo track from Eddie, something along the lines of an Eruption, a Spanish Fly, an Intruder, Cathedral. You get the picture, something along those lines. I kind of wish we had one on here, so I want to start it with something like that. So I think that would be kind of a cool way to lead into track 2, which I'm going to keep as She's the Woman, which I think is a really cool song. Wolfgang kind of introduces himself quite well. I think we all miss Michael Anthony, especially when it comes to the backing vocals, but Wolfie's bass playing is phenomenal on here. He gets to kickstart She's the Woman pretty spectacularly with that awesome bass work of his. And the song's a really catchy song. I think it's a good choice for a first single. Spoiler alert, I'm not putting Tattoo on here. What is it like? Is anybody really going to miss Tattoo? I don't think so. So She's the Woman is going to be the first sort of proper track and the first single from the album, in the number 2 spot. Number 3 spot, I have As Is, my favorite song on the album. I think it's just an absolute monstrous track. Killer guitar work from Eddie Van Halen. David Lee Roth, he, more than anybody in the band at this point, I think he's lost his touch, vocally, lyrically, and of course live as well, but that doesn't come in to play quite as much on the studio album. But I think this is where Dave really hits it. I think this might be my favorite batch of lyrics he has for the whole album on As Is. I always thought the lyrics are pretty cool. Of course, the music is spectacular. Eddie is just going off on guitar. And kind of the play between like the slower heavy bits and then Eddie's just smoking guitar riff where he's like all over the fretboard. It's just pretty insane. So As Is my favorite song on the album. I'm going to move that up to track 3. Track 4, I'm going to keep as Chinatown, another fairly short song, only 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and a lot of great guitar work from Eddie Van Halen again. It's a real banging rock track, kind of keeps this album flowing right along. And then we're going to close the A side out, because I like to try to do these for vinyl, gearing towards like vinyl. I know this is 2012, vinyl wasn't quite making its comeback yet, but to set this to vinyl, we're going to close the A side out with Blood and Fire. I think it's a really nice melodic song. Musically, always sounded more like a Hagar track to me, with David Lee Roth on vocals, but Blood and Fire musically sounds like something that would have come off of like Balance to me, so I don't know. I'm sure the song dates back farther than that, as most of these songs were songs that didn't make classic Van Halen albums. So I'm sure the song dates back to those days. But Blood and Fire feels like a balanced song to me. But it's a cool song, nice melodic track. That's how we're going to round out the A side. We're going to kick the B side off with another pretty fast 2.5 minute track, Bullet Head. Pretty rocking little song. I think it's a cool way to kick things off on the B side, and I kept that stretch of songs the same as they are on the actual album: Chinatown, Blood and Fire, Bullet Head. So that same progression, if you're listening to this on like CD, will stay here as well on my version, because I think that's a pretty good progression. Track 7, I'm going to stick You and Your Blues. I dig this one quite a bit, especially that the pre-chorus, the part where, your bad mood's permanent. That's my favorite part of the song. So, cool song. I dig it quite a bit. Unfortunately, I think Dave sounds good until he gets to the chorus in the song, and then it sounds like he's really straining, but it's a good song. Track 8, another real rocker with Out of Space. Clocks in at under 3 minutes. Just kind of a cool rocking track, I think, to throw in at this point in the album. Number 9, a song, I like it. I think a lot of people like it more than me, but I am going to keep it on the album, and that's Stay Frosty, because I think it's just a really unique track. I think it still belongs on the album. Something that really holds down the B side, and I think it sounds like a really cool penultimate track. And the last one I'm going to put on here is Big River, because I love Eddie's riffage in that song. It's one of the songs that have always stuck with me on the album, so I'm going to close things out with Big River. So the tracks that I am cutting from this album: Tattoo, which I don't think anyone's going to miss; Honey Baby Sweetie Doll, which is my least favorite song on the album; The Trouble with Never, which I'm not that into; and Beats Workin'. I went back and re-listened to that one. For some reason, Beats Workin' is like the most forgettable song on this album to me. I went and I listened to it, and it just, it's all right, but it just, I think I didn't really have room for it on here, so I just wound up cutting it. So that's pretty much how it is. So the original runtime of this album is 50 minutes and 12 seconds. I'm cutting it down to 34 minutes and 5 seconds. The A side is 16 minutes and 57 seconds. The B side is 17 minutes and 8 seconds. So that's a total of 34 minutes and 5 seconds. That feels a lot more like a classic Van Halen album. So there you have it. Let's run through this again. We're going to kick things off with an Eddie Van Halen instrumental, going to She's the Woman at track 2, As Is track 3, Chinatown track 4, Blood and Fire track 5, Bullet Head track 6, You and Your Blues track 7, Out of Space track 8, Stay Frosty track 9, and close things out with Big River at track 10. Let me know in the comments below how you would trim this album up. What songs would you keep? What songs would you want to get rid of? If you like this kind of content, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos in the future, and I'll catch you next time.